Welcome back. Now let's cast the spotlight more on the All Progressives Congress, the APC. The party, of course, is still losing members in the House of Representatives, and the signs are that it may lose more in the coming days before the election. But what has the party been doing to resolve the crisis it has had since after its primaries? Well, it set up a 7-man reconciliatory committee to look into all grievances. The party also warned aggrieved members now to withdraw their cases in court or face disciplinary action. The National Working Committee of the party described the court cases as anti-party activities, which it says is against the constitution of the party. But that order has now been overturned by President Muhammadu Buhari. The president has declared his support for aggrieved members who opted to sue the party over their grievances. The president says the courts remain the last option for the amicable resolution of disputes, and so insisting that the party must allow aggrieved members to fully explore their democratic and legal rights. Now, what impact will the president's comment have on the attempts to resolve the crisis which followed the conduct of the party primaries? Joining me now to discuss this further is Nkem Lafia, a political analyst who joins us from Abuja. Thank you very much, Mr. Lafia, for joining us on the program. First, let me start by asking you what you make of the president's declaration. You know, that statement coming from the president that the members of the party should be allowed, to basically sue the party now and go to court.
As distracting as that may sound, the president, if you ask me, means well if he tells anyone in the party to reach out to the courts for redress in terms of wrongs or even perceived wrongs that have been meted on them. The courts are the last bastion of hope for any person who has been wronged. And if the president so directs that people go, or aggrieved persons go to seek redress in court, I think he was saying the right thing. Take for instance.
Doesn't that put the president now in conflict with his the hierarchy of his party, so to speak?
No, but this is not quite unusual with the party APC. If you recall, this is a party that came about as a conglomeration of other political parties like the then CPC, parts of ANPP, and the other party from the Southwest, and some fragments of the All Progressive Grand Alliance, then led by Governor Rochas Okorocha. If you recall, part of the accusations that were being done against the major, or the alliance, so to speak, by those legacy parties, was that this was a kind of a bed of strange bedfellows, coming together of strange bedfellows, people who did not share in the same ideology, people who did not even share in common political experience, people who at that point in time never even believed in anything that was common as far as politics was concerned at that point in time. They just came together for the mere purpose to chase, as it were, the then ruling party, the People's Democratic Party, out of power. We could say that, and even buttress it with what came to play out eventually, and followed that particular victory of the APC. We saw eventually that, months into that particular administration, over 6 months, the president himself could not even come round to constituting what was basically something that ought to have even been made even before he thought about coming into office. For instance, it is absurd for the president to have stayed 6 months in the life of this administration before appointing his ministers. That gave too much.
I understand you, but I still want us to keep the focus now on the activities of the APC now before and after the primaries. And let me ask you, is it right, for instance, for the party to say, look, it will be anti-party activities for any aggrieved members, no matter how genuine their case might be, to take the party to court?
I have served at the highest level of party politics. And I do not think that that is within the ambit of what is usually termed anti-party. If at Oshomole, who's national chairman of the APC, decides that going to court by aggrieved members has become what is generally termed in political parties and in political environments as anti-party, so be it for Oshomole. But for me, it's not going to be anti-party if a man who is aggrieved tries to make his party address his grievances without his party giving him as much as an ear. He has the final place. The court is the arbiter. The court is the last hope for the common man. So for me, it's not anti-party. It does not constitute anti-party.
And it appears this is very common among political parties in this country. I mean, even some of the newly formed political parties have had issues like this. Even the PDP too actually had issues like this. For instance, in Ogun State, where some of its members took it to court, and the party decided to expel the members that took the party to court. Eventually, those members actually got a court judgment in their favor. So what's wrong with our political parties? Why don't our political parties or the hierarchy now, the top officials of the political parties, why is it that they do not want their members, especially those who are genuinely aggrieved, to take their cases to court?
Well, I put it to what we call political recklessness. For me, this has continued since the dawn of this present era, democratic era. If we saw what happened in the case of Obasanjo and the then Imo Goba candidate of the party, then Senator Ifeanyi Ararume, we'll see that all these things are continuously being played out again. They are reenacting the scripts that were scripted yesterday by their political forebears. And I do say that if we continue to have the kind of impunity that is still going on in the political parties, the smaller parties, the ones that are getting registered by the day, are still learning, unfortunately, from what has continued to be the bane of our political socialization over the years. It will continue to be condemned by people like us. It will continue to be condemned by the international community. It will continue to be condemned by every right-thinking Nigeria, because if a man is wronged and the party within its own ambits, within its own norms, within its own duties, cannot take or even address such issues, very empirical issues that have to do with its members, and such members decide to have a recourse to court, I do not think it is an affront on the party, because that is where he thinks he can only find right direction, justice. So you cannot.
And it appears, you look at, for instance, let's take the leadership of the APC, for instance, Adams Oshomole himself. He's a beneficiary of the judiciary. I remember in Edo State when he lost that election, and, his first term now, you remember he lost that election, and he actually got reinstated to office, if you like, as in the court affirmed that he was actually elected, and it was a court that made that pronouncement. So why is it that in this case, he wouldn't want party members now to go to court to address the grievances?
It is unfortunate that people who come to equity do not come with clean hands. One is so surprised what degree of monstrous right that Oshomole has grown over the past few months, especially since being elected as it were, or selected, whichever one chooses, as the national chairman of the APC. For a man who was the head of labor in this country, for a man who benefited from the courts, for a man who benefited from the goodwill, popular goodwill of the popular masses of this country, of the critical masses, to now turn to some form of Frankenstein monster against the courts, against the people, against everyone who thinks they want to stand against him in the party, is quite unfortunate. One would have expected better from an Oshomole who has been a child of several circumstances that until this very moment continue to stare us in the face. We would have thought that Oshomole should have been in a position to be able to address certain things, wrongs that are in party management and administration, and even in politics generally in this country. And that is why people like us supported him while he was coming. We did see part of this, but we felt that he was not going to get that high-handed. But if you hear what they are saying, so many people are accusing him of wrongs, and even some form of financial malfeasance in the party is quite unfortunate. We did not expect, nobody ever thought that Oshomole would have come to the to this level of, if you want, bestiality that he has come in terms of obeying court orders, in terms of stifling the rights of, or conscribing the rights of the people he claims to be leading. And every of these things for me will remain a judgment against him, no matter how long he stays as APC national chairman. He will come to the People's Court by the day, and people will find him right or wrong.
And going forward, how do you think this crisis in the APC can be resolved? I mean, you've had the president now come out to say, look, members should feel free to go to court to address their grievances, and then you have the party hierarchy setting up seven different committees, as a matter of fact, to reconcile the differences now within the party. But going forward, how do you think a resolution can be achieved?
These leaders of the party, the national chairman is a leader of the party, the president is the national leader of the party. Both of them are singing different swan songs. One does not see, unfortunately, any light on the horizon in terms of settlement. The 7-man committee you talk about seems to be peopled by those who also have their baggage in the APC setup. All of these people are coming from the party, as it were, and each of the persons that is a part of that committee is coming with a particular mindset that I want this thing to be done this way, or the other way, or another way. Whichever way, I think that this particular thing will not go away, even as the elections come through. On the other hand, what President Buhari has directed, that anybody who feels aggrieved should go to court, to me is an empirical evidence of a man who just wants to hands off whatever is being done at that party, at the level of the party. See, there have been so much, in terms of the grievances, in terms of the disagreements, from even high individuals in the party, ranging from governors to serving senators to members of the House of Representatives. I think the court ideally should be the last bastion of hope and justice for everybody who feels so aggrieved as to receive justice.
All right, Mr. Kem Lafia, thank you very much for joining us on the program, and thank you for your thoughts.
Thank you for having me, my brother.
All right, we'll take a short break and we'll be right back.
On Deji 360, we don't just ask the questions.
What is wrong with amending the Constitution the way the National Assembly members have been doing it?
We seek answers.
Constitution is constituent.
Our problem is not lack of laws. Our problem is lack of the willpower to implement our laws.
Answers that provide clarity.
While we negotiate, we should try to make it a point that the girls must be complete.
The clarity you need to make informed judgment so that you can make the right decision and take action.
People are saying it is you politicians that are responsible for this, that you are the reason why this is happening.
All these dollars that call themselves governors in this country.
I wish we had people like Tony at the National Assembly.
God forbid that I go to join that panel.
Deji 360, providing clarity to issues.